All right, everybody, some quick tips here that everyone should know, and you don't have to be a bow technician to do any of them. You should do this before every hunt, especially after every hunt as well, and before those 3D shoots, indoor shoots, anything like this. That I do this several times a year. What you want to do first is you want to go through your bow from top to bottom, and you want to check every screw, every attachment point for your accessories, all of your marks. Going to talk more about that in a minute. But as we go through this, I'm going to show you some of the major ones that get overlooked quite often. And I'm not going to go through and grab and show and tighten every one, but want to talk about it from the top to the bottom. But one of the ones that gets missed a lot is your cam module screws. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I like a torque driver style screwdriver. That way I don't strip anything out. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to my cam module screws and I'm going to check those. Boom, that one's nice and tight. And here's what you need to do if you run into a situation where your cable is blocking basically your screw hole. All I'm going to do, I don't need to press this, I'm going to lightly pull the cable out. I'm going to insert, check, that's tight, and I'm back, and these are ready to go. Now that I know that that's set to go, I'm going to flip the bow around, because there's something else I want to check here, which is my actual cable stop and also my let off. So I'm going to check, make sure that screw is nice and tight. And on this particular bow, Hoyt's VTM 31, that's also my cable stop on the top cam. There's one on the bottom cam as well. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to flip the bow back around. My dampener come out there. Stick that back in. Okay, now with everything set on that top cam, I'm going to start progressing down. And again, like I said, I'm not going to grab every single tool here and go and check, but we want to talk about all these. Anywhere where you have a dampening device attachment, you want to check all of that. Right here on my Hoyt, I've got my quiver attachment for my quiver attachment bar running out this side. The screw is here. Of course, I'm going to check that. I'm going to make sure everything's good to go. Then I come to my first accessory item, and that's the sight. And this particular sight has several screws. And again, not going to go through them all, but you want to check them all. And what we want to do, I'm going to start right here. One of the most important ones is where the sight attaches to the bow. In this case, this is Spot Hog's PM. It's on the pick mount. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. Boom, that's nice and tight. I don't need to just go start. You'll strip it out. Something bad will happen. Just make sure it's snug. That one's good to go. I'm going to check all my other screws on here as well. I'm going to get in here, make sure all of these, boom, tight. Same here. I'm going to do it here. All of my screws on my sight, I'm going to check, make sure everything is good and set and ready to go. Going to do the same for my rest. I'm going to make sure this one's tight. I'm going to flip the bow around. And I'm going to make sure the ones we don't want to miss. On my rest, on my arm here, I'm going to make sure that my left-right, my windage screw is tight here. I'm going to make sure my left and right adjustment here. Boom. That one's nice and tight. That one's set to go. Now moving down the bow. This one... and you guys have probably had this happen, so make sure you double check it. Your string stop. This one here you want to check because it will rattle out on you. I think I grabbed the wrong one. I might have. That's okay. I'll grab the right one. Okay. Yep. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure that that is nice and tight. It is. Boom. Ready to go because that will wiggle loose. Another one. Talked about getting and making sure your string stop dampener is tight, but also the rod here also needs to be tight. So I'm going to check that. This one's got two. I'm going to check there, tight, there, tight. Those are just dimpled screws that hold in the rod here. All right, so that is all set to go. I'm going to progress all the way, check my stabilizer. I'm going to check my bow sticks, and then the stuff that we did to the top cam, we're also going to do to the bottom cam. We're going to check everything on this bow, make sure nothing's rattling. There's no game spooking noises. There's no chance of an accessory failure from something as simple as not having something screwed down, attached right, and set to go. Now, let's talk a little bit about something else that's super, super, super important. And this is one of the best tools you can have. And right here, I always mark everything, because that way if something moves, I'm gonna know instantly. So if you look right here on my peep sight, you can see, of course I have it tied in, but you can see I've got a silver Sharpie and I've got my marks here and here. That way I can, this is an easy reference point. I can just check quickly and go, boom, that's set to go. There's nothing that is moved there. It is 100% good to go. And I'll know if it does move, those two silver Sharpie lines are not going to move. I do the same with everything else. I do with my rest, anywhere I can mark it on my sight. My cams, this one's super, super, super important. You can see here on my cams, I mark my cams anywhere that I can, because that way, if something moves, I know about it. This is the type of stuff that is simple and easy, and there is really, really no excuse for it. When you go on a hunt and one of those things goes wrong and you could have prevented it, and you don't have everything you need with you, it's like, oh man, I can't believe I just let that happen. Don't let it happen. The process will take you a couple minutes. Check all those screws, check all of your accessories, make sure all of your marks line up, make sure everything's set to go, and you're gonna save yourself a lot of time and a lot of trouble.